Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. On this Valentine's Day, we have some stocks that we hope will send your portfolio head over heels in profit. As two stock pickers go head to head.
Two new stock analysts join us to offer their Valentine's Day investment choices. First up is Daniel So, who has picked internet mobile game provider NetEase, stock code 9999. Daniel acknowledges the entire internet sector has come under severe selling pressure since the central government cracked down on the country's tech titans. But the drop in share prices has been so severe, he says, there's ample room to catch these shares at multiples below where they ought to be.
I believe the price has already reflected most of the negative factors from regulations. And going forward, if there are no major new regulations on the sector, then there could be upside in the valuation. There would be some re-rating going forward.
Daniel prefers NetEase for its big focus on gaming, which could be in for a major positive catalyst soon.
That is, the government may resume the approval of new mobile games in the coming months, and that could be a positive driver for the sector. And for NetEase itself, it is going to launch some popular games this year. They have a strong game pipeline, and that could drive their gaming revenues and profits.
Not only in the mainland market, but in overseas markets too. Daniel isn't too afraid of renewed regulatory risk emanating from Beijing, citing the gaming sector is far less a target than the country's e-commerce companies. Having said that, don't be surprised to see more scrutiny from China's finger waggers. Don't be surprised, but don't panic either.
Although I believe these regulations to be announced won't be under some new direction or new frameworks. Instead, they would be under the existing frameworks that were announced over the past 6 months. So the market is going to digest these news. There could be some fluctuations in prices. So the biggest risk is in case there are some unexpected regulations to be announced, then the sector may come under pressure again.
Daniel sets a target price of $175 and a stop loss of $145. His second pick builds on nothing from the first except lots of pressure, indirectly, from mainland government scrutiny. Pick number 2 is construction equipment maker Zoomlion, stock code 1157. The bricks and mortar heavy manufacturer makes construction machinery, like cranes and concrete machines, among others. Now, wouldn't a company like that be under pressure due to the financial crisis in the residential property market? Yes, but on the other hand, there's the vast amount of investment squillions Beijing is throwing into pandemic relief.
One of the key policies would be infrastructure spending. Infrastructure spending over the past year has been quite weak in China, and we expect that the spending would speed up and supported by increased issuance of local governments, special bonds, and some higher budget from the central government.
There's nothing better for the outlook of a maker of construction machinery, infrastructure. Perhaps just saying it gives as much satisfaction. Infrastructure. Zoomlion's share price has dropped about 40% in the last year, mainly due to the weak housing market since the pandemic started and the debt crisis paralyzing the industry. Daniel says the concerns in the housing market will ease and stability return, so that at current valuations, investors can get in on the share price currently on the ground floor.
The key products, cranes and concrete machines. Besides that, Zoomlion has also some relatively new products such as excavators and aerial working platforms. And these new products have a stronger growth due to their low basis, and they may become some new growth drivers going forward.
Of course, the risk to the company is that housing will continue its slowdown, debts will go unpaid or unrestructured, and that Beijing's liquidity will go dry. Daniel sets a target price of $6.40 with a stop loss of $4.70. Once he was camera ready, Patrick Yu decided his first choice would be China Resources Power, stock code 836. Patrick says this power delivery play is attractive as it aggressively pursues its transition from coal power generation to cleaner gas-fired wind and solar power generation. China is on a warpath to produce as much clean energy as possible to get the country's CO2 emissions under control.
The government policy is to encourage the clean energy. So the renewable energy is a long-term development in China. And that's why I think that it may continue to build up more renewable energy, and it is the potential for the company to grow.
The company is currently trading at around 9 times and pays out a dividend of around 3%. The switch to renewable energy is likely to improve the profit margin, while earnings growth over the next couple of years is expected at 20% plus.
So compared with the only single-digit price earning ratio, I think that the growth is very attractive. And therefore, I think that it seems to have some upside for the share price.
Patrick says the main risk to the company will be the continued slowdown of the Chinese economy. A happily growing economy likes to consume a lot of power, and the cleaner the better. Patrick sets a target price of $24.50 and a stop loss of $19.50. Patrick takes to the high seas for his next pick, shipping Tsunami Orient Overseas International Limited, or OOIL, the parent company of container hauler OOCL, stock code 316. COVID caused serious congestion in its victims' lungs, and its economic fallout has caused major congestion in the world's ports as economies try to bring their interrupted supply chains back online. The result has been bottlenecks and record price levels in freight rates that can change on a weekly basis. Patrick sees nothing in the near future that will ease these problems.
Upcoming supply of the new ships is likely to be limited. Why? Because the EU, the European Union, set a new requirement that to control the carbon emission request. If the ship cannot meet this requirement, and it will be requested to reduce the speed of the ships, and therefore it will increase the cost and the time for the shipping trip,
leaving rates and profits at a favorable level. The number of ships and the potential to bring more on stream in 2022 and 2023 is very limited, so rates are likely to remain high. At the moment, OOIL is trading at 20 times PE and has a very generous payout ratio of 100%, yielding around 20%. Patrick says he holds some OOIL shares for the yield potential going forward. What could go wrong?
If the global economy slows down and then the lead for the transportation is reduced, or maybe the flight rate turn around and then go slower, and then it will have a downside risk for this company.
Patrick says his target price is $240 and the stop loss is $190. We'll review Patrick and Daniel's choices in 1 month to see who returns to go head-to-head. China's total holiday movie ticket sales surpassed $500 million. Watching movies during the Lunar New Year holiday has become increasingly popular in the country. Box office sales during the 7-day holiday are expected to pass the $1.3 billion mark, a new record. A variety of films of various genres have been released this year. More than 80,000 big screens have also provided strong support for the film market. In 2020, China officially unseated North America as the world's biggest movie market. America's employers added 467,000 jobs in January in a sign of the economy's resilience, a surprising burst of hiring. The strong hiring growth for January defied expectations for only a slight gain and demonstrates the eagerness of many employers to hire new workers. Businesses appear to have seen the Omicron wave as having a temporary impact on the economy and remain confident about longer-term growth. Amazon.com is raising the price of its annual video streaming subscription service by 17%. The company is looking to offset higher costs for shipping and wages that it expects to persist in 2022. Amazon also beat profit expectations for the holiday season. Its net income doubled on year to $14.3 billion. In October, Amazon had warned investors it would spend billions in the holiday period to ensure that packages reached customers amid an acute labor shortage. A lot of the spending went into hiring 140,000 workers. This gives Amazon the confidence to raise the price of the service by $20 to $139 a year. That is the first such increase since 2018.
Coming up on Money Matters, the art and auction season move into full gear, but Hong Kong collectors must watch from afar. Stay with us. Welcome back to Money Matters. Hong Kong art buyers will have to admire one of the biggest auction sales in London from afar, unless they don't mind the quarantine on their return. No matter, remote bidding has become mainstream. Money Matters takes a look at what artists and items are going on the block and at some special pieces that are just for viewing.
A selection of paintings by the artist Francis Bacon is now on display at London's Royal Academy of Arts. The new exhibition, Francis Bacon, Man and Beast, explores how Bacon drew on photographs of animals, such as a screaming chimpanzee, for his sometimes unsettling depictions of people. Irish-born Bacon was one of the most acclaimed artists of the 20th century, known for his idiosyncratic approach to the human figure.
He really fundamentally believed that beneath the very thin veneer of civilization, we are ultimately all animals, we are part of the animal kingdom, and we are driven by very base instincts of violence, the thirst for power, a sexual drive and sexual urges, but these are kind of exist in a sort of tangled mass beneath this kind of civilized surface.
The exhibition spans Bacon's 50-year career, featuring early canvases as well as his final pieces.
I think there's a good spread of works by Bacon here, and we see that there's a lot of different phases of his life, and some works I'd never seen before, and I've seen a lot of Francis Bacon works, so it's great to see a lot of things that you wouldn't normally see, and loans from the US that wouldn't normally leave those shores, so it's great to see such a wide variety of his pieces.
He drew his inspiration from personal experience, but also current events. Bacon's work is also influenced by his meticulous study of human anatomy, resulting in paintings that seem to overlay portraits and anatomical sketches. Bacon died in 1992, aged 82. He was the son of a horse breeder who made wildlife trips to South Africa and studied animal photography for inspiration.
He, grew up surrounded by animals, sort of on a farm. He studied animals from early on in his life. And then he was also very much sort of impressed, of course, by the events of the First and Second World Wars. Unbelievable degrees of violence and cruelty also humans are capable of that, of course, come to the fore.
The screaming figures were a Bacon staple. Heads tilted back, with open mouths in a kind of silent but still powerful scream.
And you see this projected onto the faces of popes, of businessmen, so he's kind of playing with these symbols of human superiority, of divine presence on earth.
The exhibition is the first time several of Bacon's bullfight paintings can be seen together.
He described bullfights as a kind of aperitif to sex. He found the sort of coexistence of violence and the spectre of death and this extraordinary dance of life and physicality and muscularity that bullfights represent extremely fascinating.
Old masters have attracted attention as well this spring. This year, a rare Sandro Botticelli painting of Jesus Christ called The Man of Sorrows that sold for more than $45 million US. The painting, a religious work from the artist's late period, dates to around 1500. It has remained in private hands and out of the public eye for much of the last century.
Botticelli is one of those artists I think that everybody knows. He's really, the first or second chapter of any art history book. We're expecting that it should make something in excess of $40 million. It's a very beautiful picture. We did have one last year that made $92.2 million. And, obviously with an auction, anything can happen, but that's what we're feeling could be the result for this picture.
57 works were up for grabs that spanned millennia for the first time. The auction included an Old Kingdom Egyptian limestone sculpture alongside European old masters, including works by some of the great painters of the Italian Renaissance. A second auction featured 53 works from the collection of American realist painter Nelson Shanks. Included in the sale are a series of head studies of famous people painted by Shank, such as Princess Diana, who sat for him in the early 90s, and others such as Luciano Pavarotti and President Clinton.
This was a moment where obviously there was a lot going on in our life, and this is the most famous person in the world at the time, and actually probably is still one of the most famous people in the world. And you see this portrait, and Nelson has captured something that's introspective, wistful, maybe a little sad. It's very, very touching.
The oil sketch of Princess Diana was estimated at between $15,000 and $20,000 US, but sold for over $200,000. A black diamond weighing a staggering 555.55 carats is going up for auction in Los Angeles. The Enigma is also known as a carbonado diamond and could have come from outer space.
Carbonado diamonds are quite rare to begin with. They are shrouded in mystery of the origin of formation because there's not that many of them found on Earth. And this is a particularly great example, a beautiful example of one of these types of diamonds. Or if it did come from space, what it would tell us is the evolution of our solar system, information about the evolution of planets in our solar system, and that's also quite exciting. So no matter what, I think really exciting research could come from these types of stones.
Most carbonados are about 2.6 to 3.2 billion years old. The Earth is only 4.65 billion years old, so this is dating back closer to formative Earth events that were taking place back then. There are only two places in the world that carbonados of this structure have been found: Brazil and the Central African Republic. It's believed the diamond was found in a mine in one of those countries. The current owner, who is selling the gem at auction, has had the Enigma in their possession for 2 decades, but little is known about its history before that. However, the Enigma may elude scientists, as the black diamond is open to anyone with enough money or cryptocurrency to buy it.
This object transcends the typical diamond and jewelry collector. This is the type of piece that I think we could see potentially being in a museum. It could be with a private collector. Whether it is used, meaning worn or adorned, perhaps unlikely, but remains to be seen. But I think because it is so rare and receiving so much global attention, that just adds to the intrigue and the narrative of this piece and how it will be used and perpetuated for the next generation and for the next collector.
It has not been exhibited before, and it sold for $4.3 million US. Horses burst through open flames as hundreds watched the riders brave the heat and smoke. It's not a new slow roast barbecued de la España. It's a purification ceremony during the festival of Las Luminarias, held for the first time since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The traditional nighttime celebration takes place in San Bartolomé de Pinares every January on St. Anthony's Day, Spain's patron saint of animals. It was cancelled last year because of pandemic restrictions. This longtime rider says he's been coming to the festival since he was 7. Only missed it once last year because of the pandemic. Revelers rode their horses through the narrow cobblestone streets, which, according to tradition, purifies the animals with the smoke and flames of the bonfires for the coming year. After an hour of horses jumping over flames, revelers then took to dancing and drinking. This local resident says it is a special, magical night for everyone. It's a tradition that is something that makes everyone feel great. About 100 horses and their owners took part in the festivities. Despite coming under criticism from animal rights groups over the years, organizers say the horses were not harmed due to precautions taken by the riders to cut the horses' hair to avoid burns. In the sky above the Slovakian capital Bratislava, drivers may soon be able to opt for the air car as their ride. Its wings are fully retractable, and it currently has a 160 horsepower BMW engine with fixed propeller and a ballistic parachute. The dual-mode car aircraft has already ticked off a list of achievements. It's done more than 70 hours of test flights, 200 takeoffs and landings, and it's completed steep 45-degree turns. Now, the company that makes it says it has been given an airworthiness certificate by the Slovak Transport Authority in line with European safety standards. The company founder says he longed for the open roads of yesteryear, but in the air. He says cars used to be symbols of freedom. He's just brought the image back by adding wings. With the increased use of drones and an expanding commercial airline network, it's argued by some that our skies will become ever more crowded. But the air car will relieve that anxiety by being more flexible. A car plane might still sound a bit futuristic, but its maker is confident there is a ready market for the vehicle that is expected to cost around $700,000 US.
That's the show. Thanks for watching. Next time on Money Matters, we return to Central as our series on district properties continues. See you then. Good night.